morning, everyone. Welcome to the Performance Management Overview. We're very happy to be here today. Our presentation is being put on by the Workforce Development Team, Diane Iwata and myself, and we also have our instructor here, Venice Johnson. Today, you are here as part of the Series 1 Performance Planning Workshop. This is a part 1 of 3 workshops we'll be offering this fiscal year. And it's a mandatory class for all AFSCME and non-represented managers. My name is Prem Bajaj. For those of you who I haven't met before, I am the supervisor of the Workforce Development Team. We have Diane Iwata here, who's the manager of the Benefits and Workforce Development Team, and Venice Johnson as well. Today, as part of this workshop, you will be submitting an evaluation form, and that evaluation form will serve as proof of your attendance of the workshop. So keep an eye on the chat. We'd like to welcome you all here to the presentation because we are so excited to present the new FY23, fiscal year 23 performance management process and our new form. We've created the form in collaboration with our OCIO team, IT, as well as feedback that we've received from all of you and heard from you on the pains and the turbulations that you've had from our previous form that was on PeopleSoft. We went out into the industry to look for a new module, and unfortunately, we couldn't find something better than what we had. So we decided to take a whole different approach, and we went out to our team over here in OCIO and we said, let's take all of the feedback that we've received, let's take all of the best practices that we want to implement, and let's review all of those and put them all together to customize a form just for us. So this form has been built in-house, and we invited you to participate in this workshop so we can share information about the new form, as well as a simplified performance management process. So thank you all for joining us today. I'm going to hand off this workshop to Venice Johnson, who will continue with the presentation. Thank you.
So thank you for that, Prim, and good morning, everyone. And so I want to just kind of add a note. Prim is going to be dropping polls in the chat. So please pay attention to the polls, to the chat, glance over when you have an opportunity. And the reason we're dropping that is because we want to make sure that we're engaging with you in this conversation, this workshop for the next couple of hours. But also we want to check your temperature so that we can just really gauge where we need to spend a little bit more time, and or we want to just make it a little fun for you too. So welcome, everyone. So my name is Venice. Some of you I've had the opportunity to meet. And if this is our first time meeting, it's so nice to meet you. And you're going to see me again throughout the year. So a little bit about my background is listed on the screen. But most important thing that I want to share with you is that I've been with BART for 7 years now as a workforce development instructor. So I'm just excited to continue on this journey and to support you to the next level of your success. So today's focus, we're going to talk about what is performance management in 3 steps. And that's going to introduce us to the new form that Pam has already mentioned. What's new for fiscal year 23? And step 1, establishing performance measures. This is where we're going to spend the majority of our time when we get to that form, focusing on this area. Deliverables are due July the 31st. Can you all believe that tomorrow is July the 1st? Time is flying. Evaluation form required for course completion. As Prem mentioned, I will drop the link in the chat at the appropriate time for you to complete the evaluation, because that is how we are tracking your performance and giving credit for attending the workshop. Then we're going to move into part 2 of the workshop, which is goal setting exercise. So we're not just going to talk about it, we're going to be about it. So you get a chance to put into action some steps around performance planning. And then there is going to be room for open discussion. This is the opportunity for you to ask additional questions. It's also the opportunity to hear the feedback from the exercise. So please make sure that you stay around, because we want to support you moving further into this process. Make sure you're all prepared. So what is performance management? So performance management is the process of continuous conversations between managers and employees to establish goals and expectations, to support employee progress and performance, and to document manager feedback and evaluation. Here are some optimal phrases that I want you to take from this. Continuous conversation. So, performance management, you're going to hear me refer back to this at different points throughout this conversation because performance management leads to performance coaching, which is about continuous conversations. Also, another phrase that you want to highlight is supporting employee progress and performance. Performance management, performance coaching is about supporting that employee progress and performance to help them to really be the best they can be in the work that they're doing and support them along the way. And then lastly, it's document manager feedback. So you'll hear me refer to this again as we get to the appropriate spots on the form that, documenting the feedback is important for conversation, for support, but also it's a way to be able to look at the culmination at the end when it's time to do the final evaluation so that all I's are dotted and all T's are crossed. Why is it important? Well, it increases communication between supervisor and employee. So think of this from a collaborative perspective. This is an opportunity to bridge the gap, to make sure that collaboration is there. And you, the manager, are not the person that's solely responsible for the employee reaching the best performance that they can, or having the best output that they can have. So we want to make this a collaborative effort and increase that communication. It ties ratings to potential wage increases and other eligibility determinations. So again, making sure that we're following the appropriate steps in the forms and things are tied and connected the way that they should be. Aligns business goals with team and employee goals. So the district has goals. And then when we look at it and just kind of take a step and maybe follow it backwards, right? The district has its goals, then that trickles down to and dot lines to the department goals, which dot lines to the team goals, which dot lines to the employee goals. So we want to just make sure that all of the goals are in alignment. We'll talk about the SMART methodology that we're going to use to do this to ensure that things are in alignment as you move forward. Keeps your employees engaged and productive. That goes back to bullet number one, increasing the communication, the collaboration, the engagement. Acknowledges achievements and accomplishments. I don't know about you guys, but I like to know when I'm doing something right. When I'm doing something right, then I want to continue to do the next thing right. And I want to find other areas to really continue to reach those goals and to have high achievements. So there's a section on the form that we'll get into where you can acknowledge those achievements. And let's face it, sometimes you're not always there around your employees, especially with the different type of work models that we have, in today's world, right? So it's great for them to be able to know that they can be able to submit their achievements as well. Encourages training and development. So along this performance planning process, along the performance management documentation and the performance management coaching, we're going to be encouraging training and development. And I will show you where that's going to be easily accessible and links on the forms that will support, the planning process and the goal setting for that ongoing training and development. And documents discussions and records performances. So as I mentioned before, at the end of fiscal 23, when it's time to submit the final evaluation, all the documentations and all the discussions, everything will be documented, and so that you can be able to look at the record of performance for the whole year. So here's your role as a supervisor. It's your responsibility to complete the annual evaluations for all AFSCME and non-rep reports. That's why we're having this conversation today. You would need to meet, discuss, and establish performance measures to be submitted by July 31st. So everyone, is aware of the deadline. You can also plug this on the calendar. There'll also be communication will be going out to remind you, but you want to go ahead and plan for that now. And you'll see me you reference to this deadline at different points in the presentation. Your role as a performance management coach starts here and it's continuous through the year. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Note for new employees hired between July 1st and December 31st of the fiscal year, performance plans will need to be created within the first 30 days, along with probationary review process. So keep that in mind to be able to reference back and to know you have that 30-day window. So to make sure that those plans are created. And I'm just excited to share with you all the form so that you'll give a chance to really see, just the simplicity and the ease that's been created to do this documentation process.
So going back to the probationary employees,
Mhm.
instead of just waiting the 6 months before we create the new form, you want one in 30 days into the system, then would you do them concurrently? Would you do them both at the same time? The probationary report and then the performance review at the same time?
So I'm going to let Prim jump in and answer that one.
Yes, so if you have an employee that's hired before December 31st, they're required to have a probationary form as well as a performance plan. So you can go ahead and start plugging in their performance measures as you are going through the probationary process. And one of the features of the probationary form is that you can go in as a manager and change those goals at any time. So as you are putting in the performance measures and you're starting to establish goals and objectives for the following months through the end of the fiscal year, if you find that you need to adjust those goals at any time, you can do that. But at least you're getting the conversation going and the goals and objectives set for the performance measures within the first 30 days.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Good question. And please feel free to ask questions as we go along in the content. This presentation not only is to introduce you to the new 2-page form, but this is also about us supporting you with those questions, as they come up. Whatever question you have, someone else may be thinking of that as well. Also, make sure, to drop your questions in the chat. So that we can still respond to you that way as well. And I got both Prim and Diane. They have walking knowledge on all of this. Let's use them.
I got a question, Vanessa.
Sure.
Let's say if an employee transferred from one department, already he got a goals and everything set up in the other department. And when he comes to a new department in January, and those goals and objectives doesn't align with this new job. And in that case, we have to write the new goals and objectives within the 30 days again.
So if I can go in and answer that question, yes. The performance measures section is unlimited in the number of words that you have as a manager and supervisor to enter in there. So that's one thing I want to say. The second thing is the employee is required to be evaluated for the entire fiscal year cycle. So if you have an employee that is promoted or transferred within the fiscal year, as the new supervisor, you can go in and add to the goals and objectives and note that the section that you're entering in is reflective upon the new position. And then when you get to the final evaluation, the evaluation summation should be a combination of the previous supervisors and your evaluation so that it's not just a recent evaluation, it covers the entire fiscal year. I hope that helps.
That's good, really good. Thank you, Prem.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you
And
for that.
Diane, sorry,
Mhm.
just wanted to
Mhm.
just chime in a couple of things. So yeah, just as a reminder, for those people who are moving versus the new, there is no exception in terms of when they were promoted or transferred. You still have that obligation to engage with them. So there is for the new employees if they started after January, January 1st, you might have a waiver. There is no waiver for those people who've been promoted or transferred. So just please keep that in mind. That is only for new employees. And again, on sneak preview is that the frustration that people had in the past is that you'll have to call us up and wait for people, somebody in workforce to transfer the files. That's going to be automated. So once you do your reports changes in the system, automatically they will move to you. So again, we'll hear more about that coming up, but I just thought I'd give you that little sneak preview and relief that that's a positive change in the process. So back to you, Denise.
Yeah, thank you so much, Diane, and thank you, Prem. Also, that's a great question, and I hope that it also answers other questions that may be lingering around that topic. So now let's look at the performance timeline. So the performance timeline, the annual period is 7/1/22 to 6/9/23. The performance planning, the measures are due 7/31. So we're going to be focusing on this part today, which is due for 7/31. So to make sure that you're prepped, that you have the tools and resources, and that you're ready to rock and roll with it. Quarterly review dues are at the end of the quarter. You have 9/30, 12/31, and then 3/31/23. And as noted, you will receive an email as a reminder that they are due. So that way you can just make sure that you're on target with it. Another idea is to plug it in onto your calendar. So if you want to go ahead and make a note to plug this in onto your calendar so that you already can work towards that versus letting it sneak up on you, because time flies so quickly. The final evaluation due is on 6/9/23. So let's talk about the performance management cycle in 3 steps. So step 1, if you look at the blue box, performance measures, identify, discuss, and set performance measures. This is the component that we're going to focus on today. We're also going to review step 2, quarterly feedback, ongoing conversations to engage and exchange. This is where you have the opportunity for performance management coaching. That's an ongoing conversation. And then step 3, overall evaluation and rating to reflect, rate, and communicate. This is where you get a chance to make your notes, to review the comments, to provide that initial overall rating. So for intents and purposes today, we're focusing on step 1, but we will review the other 2 steps. So what's new for fiscal year 23? Yes.
I'm sorry, if you can go back to the last
Sure.
slide, I just want to add in a few things just to highlight. One of the things that we have done with the performance management cycle is to simplify it into 3 steps. And we will be offering workshops, just like I talked about earlier. We have this workshop that we're offering now on performance measures. But along the way, with each step of the performance management cycle, we're going to continue to offer workshops. So for this period where performance measures are due on July 31st, we have a month-long workshops that we are offering to all managers and supervisors who are AFSCME and non-rep to support you along the way. When we hit step 2, you're going to be meeting with your employees for mandatory quarterly feedbacks and ongoing conversations. And we'll be offering performance management coaching series 2 class during that time. And also as well, when we do the closeout and we're ready for the evaluation period, we will be offering workshops on writing performance evaluations and having those conversations with your employees. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that this performance measures section, we are going to be focusing on 2 specific areas, which is something that you're familiar with from the old form, that is the projects and tasks, as well as performance competencies. But we've done a lot to streamline the process, and we've done a lot to make it easier for you. One of the things that we've done is we've added for performance competencies. We've redefined them in such a way that those competencies are already defined for you, and they're also expanded in such a way that they include a lot more than they have done before. In the step 2 section, we've added a new piece of it too, and that's the noteworthy achievements that you can see here, which is a wonderful new addition to the form. So as you see, we're going to go through the 3 steps. And you'll also see the 3 steps when we get to the form as well, but we'll also be supporting you along the way with workshops and open sessions for you to have some one-on-one interaction to help you along the way. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you,
Actually, Prim, I just want to jump in one quick little plug for everybody is that obviously you guys were the inspiration for us to change the forms and as well as the process itself. Again, we're trying to make things better, and we all also recognize that we want to continue to grow. So we will be asking for feedback from our supervisors and managers throughout the year to figure out if there's any other opportunities to make improvements. So I think you'll see a lot of changes and differences. We also recognize that there are some other things that we might be able to even make it better. So as we go through this year and we're testing out this new process, we're going to provide opportunities for you give feedback to us. And again, you're always welcome to contact Prim or myself, or send a message to the workforce. Again, we're very open to hearing your feedback and encourage and want it, because like I said, we truly want to make sure that this is meeting the needs of the employees and our supervisors and managers to make it a better process. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Denise. Thanks.
Thank you, Diane. And thank you, Prim. Oops, sorry, going the wrong way. So let's see. Hold on, you guys. Hold on. There we go. Okay, so what's new for the form for fiscal year 23? The form designed by HR OCIO to meet your needs. You heard Diane talk about this and the excitement, of pulling this information together. This form is going to save you time. So eliminated steps, reduced time for completion. I was alluding to that before in some of the other components, from the project management phrases. Fosters continual conversation, simplify quarterly check-ins, promotes employee recognition, encourages discussion on development and improvement. So right about now, you all should be getting excited. When I said saves time, you should be getting excited. New defined competencies. So we're going to get into that. Prim spoke about that a little bit in the first part of the plan measure process. Year-round performance workshops. So we're going to be here to support you, on the other aspects of the form, so that you can have the success that you are expecting to have with the ease of this form. Quarterly email reminders, that the time is coming up quarterly to make sure that you're filling in your SMART goals with the employee and the information meets the deadline timeframe. Eliminates needs to transfer performance plans. You are not going to have to go from form to form to form, click here, click there. You're actually going to be able to narrow it down into actually 2 simplified forms. And they're useful links. So you won't need to go outside of the form to go find information. The links are embedded within the form. They're highlighted. I'm going to share them with you when we get to looking at the form momentarily, so that you can find information that you need, again, to go back to save you time.
So if I may add in there, there are a number of managers who are on and supervisors who are on this workshop today who have multiple employees and who've had to email me. I recognize your name. Who've had to email me and say, oh, my employee is now reporting to another manager, or this employee was transferred, or this employee was promoted, and you've had to email and ask us to transfer forms for you. Now, what's going to happen is we've eliminated that step. Our whole idea of going into this process is let's take away things and streamline processes. So the forms will automatically appear in your queue when a reports to change is entered into PeopleSoft. So yay for me and yay for you all. I can't tell you how excited I am to see that happen. And so that's the type of enhancements that we're looking for as we move forward with this form through this year. Since this form has been built in-house, we want to hear back from you. We want to get your feedback. We want to know what things we can do to make this process as easy as possible for you, so that you are spending more time in those ongoing conversations with your employees and less time dealing with the nuances of the form. And before we go on to the next slide, Denise, is it okay if I throw out a poll?
Yes, please.
Yes, because this is my first time doing it, so I'm throwing out a poll question, and let's see if you see it here. Do you see the question appear on the screen? Yes? So the question is, how many comment boxes were you required to complete on the FY22 form? How many comment boxes?
Robert's thinking really hard.
Think about it. We had 3 tabs. We had performance measures, right? And we had the section on, now I can't even remember. I'm trying to block it from my mind, right? Then there was a goals and objectives tab. And so you had to go in and you had to open each one. Then you had a competencies tab, right? And you had to open each one, and then you had to click on the pencil box. How many comment boxes did you have? No cheating now. Don't go to your current form and pull it up. Okay, let's see what we got here. Some of you are saying 15. Some of you are saying 33. I mean, sorry, 30. Some of you are saying 45. At 15 responses, we're almost there. Almost there. 16 responses. So the correct answer is you all were filling out 45 comment boxes. 45 comment boxes. And so that is the correct answer. Can you imagine for each performance objective, and then for each competency you were filling out, and for each mandatory measure you were filling out a comment box, and then you had your final evaluation. So 45 comment boxes.
I saw Jeffrey, he put his hands up. He was like, yes. And I see the cows in the background agreeing. Jeffrey, you might have had a little help. Like, can I phone the cows back to get the answer? So I just want to check and see, Prim, thank you for that poll. Yes, Diane.
Robert has a question.
Yes.
Can there be a control that prior to transfer of a performance plan that the drafting of a performance plan is verified? I'm trying to fully understand that.
Do you follow? Like, I would hate to think a performance plan would get transferred if the existing manager, the prior manager, did not do the preparing of the performance plan. Like, if they failed to meet the July 31st deadline and then, you know, pass on an employee to another manager, then that manager is burdened with drafting the plan.
Yes. So the way that's a really good point you bring up, Robert. And since we don't have the ability to transfer back and forth now, whenever that employee is changed in PeopleSoft, then the evaluation form is going to automatically appear in the queue of the new manager or new supervisor's performance plan document. So that is very important for us to recognize that before the transfer occurs, as an employee is being moved, that a manager completes their evaluation form. What we will be doing on a quarterly basis is sending out reminders to managers and supervisors that certain deliverables are due. And also dates are listed on the form, and we will also be pulling queries to track managers' completion of the various quarterly. So the upper management staff within the divisions will be aware of any reviews that have not been completed, but that's an interesting point that you bring up.
Yeah, so just to piggyback on that, so just to be clear, the GM, our general manager, really supports this and wants to make sure that everybody is providing the performance measures for their staff members. So we will be reporting that up through the chain to the general manager. And what we can do is, and thank you, because it is food for thought, we will try to figure out before those transfers happen, sometimes there's like notifications lists that you get, and we can put kind of a reminder, hey, before this person shifts over, these are your responsibilities. Yeah. So we can probably see how we can work with some of our other HR team members to get that message out to the people who are losing their employees, that they have the responsibility to complete that before it shifts over.
Yeah,
so thank you for that
point. Yeah.
Good deal. So are there any more questions at this point? So feel free to drop your questions in the chat, as well as open your mic and interject your question. So are there any additional questions or comments so far? Okay, good deal. Here is the exciting part, in addition to everything that we've said so far, is the new form. So here you have it in front of you. 2 pages. So the new form is here. You see that it has performance plan measures. And then at the bottom on page 1, performance competencies, which we're going to get into. On page 2, it has the ongoing conversations with quarterly check-ins, and then the overall performance evaluation and rating. So the pending development is the employee acknowledgement for the first and second level manager approval section. So keep that in mind. And Diane mentioned this also. This is still a work in progress, meaning we want your feedback as you're moving forward with using this form so that the tweaks may be necessary along the way. But for now, the form is already live. It went live last week on the 20th, and now the Ask Me will get a notification, all the employees and the non-reps, they will get a notification on the 1st that the form is now available. And we'll talk about where to access this in a moment. So I just want to check in with you guys. How do you feel now visually seeing it on the screen that there isn't 45 boxes, that it's actually 2 pages? So can I see some thumbs up that you're excited about it?
I feel peace rather than anxiety that I've always felt when I see the evaluation form.
Good, Robert. I'm
Wonderful.
glad to hear that. Yes, yes.
Thank you.
And Robert, wait till we break it down. You're going to feel it even more peace. Is there anyone else who wants to share just visually looking at the form? You know, what's your visual experience in looking at this?
This look like really simple process.
Yes, yes.
This
Well, we don't know.
This
No,
definitely,
we don't know. Have faith.
this definitely is gonna be more enticing for me to do. Cause as Prib knows, I lose division managers all the time and she's forever moving things around.
I can't tell you how many managers I've become best friends with because they're reaching out to me, Pam, help me. I'll miss the conversations that we kind of have on the side as part of this transfer process, but we'll find other ways to engage. Sarah has a
More
question.
substantive, better, fun conversations.
Yeah.
Sarah has a question, and so does Mahendra.
Sure.
Okay, so Prim, you're off the hook now for moving. But so who's gonna make sure the reports to is correct? Because in transportation, we have a horrible
Yes.
time.
Yes, so we're taking this baby steps and trying to get this right set. I understand, especially in transportation and other areas of the district, when it's not specifically reports to changes that happen with transfers and promotions that are tied to recruitment activities, but these are transfers that may happen due to bids. And so
Yes.
that's sometimes very fluctuating, and a few months an individual out of the fiscal year will be reporting to you and then maybe going over to Fred. So that's a process that we need to continue to work on, but this is a big step in the direction of helping everyone to get to where we need to be, and then trying to figure out a process, and we have to collaborate with our partners in HRIS on how do we get this to be a process where when bids are affecting or when there's transfers that are happening as a result of a bid process, that there is a bulk transfer that happens at that time. So we will continue to work to make sure that we are working in the right direction, but I hope this is helpful and getting there for you.
Yeah, it's helpful. And one more question, is
Sure.
it because we put our measurements are the same for our supervisors, they're all the same classification, are we going to be able to clone?
So with this form here, currently, we've been working very closely with Chandra in helping us to design this form, and we've been able to ask for a lot of customizations. We have not explored the options of cloning just yet, because this is an in-house designed form, and we're still exploring the idea of, okay, after we see this beautiful form, how many of the bells and whistles did we have before that are going to be helpful for us, that we want to move forward with? And can we do them in-house, or do we need to step back and go outside to look for a module that's going to be as simple and as easy to use as this. One of the things that Chandra is working on right now as we speak, we are able to print this form into a PDF form. His first goal is to get us moving for this fiscal year, is also to work on trying to get this to be printed as a Word document so that you can do some copying and pasting over. We're going to ask you to bear with us as we work through trying to bring in some more bells and whistles for you. But the answer to your question is currently we cannot clone. We're hoping that we can have that happen in the future with the module, but I don't think it's going to be able to happen here, but we're still exploring.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And
One
someone
more
else had a
question.
question?
Yes, Mahendra has a question.
Yeah, so I think you already answered copy cloning question and PDF. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. I have two more questions. One is of course, this is lots less stressful just looking at the form. So thank you for that. Are we like in the old format? You could do a long format where you can pull everything up in one page. Is this form can be expanded in that form so you can just basically scroll up and down and see everything in one page?
So this form is 2 pages, as you see here. So when you are completing your performance measures, you're completing page 1. And this form, there's no tabs to open up. There's no expansion keys. Whenever you type everything, the form is going to open up accordingly. And you see where it says goals and objectives. There's that little corner there. If you want to pull it down, you're more than welcome to pull it down. Otherwise, as you're typing this in, it will open up the form as you're going down. So you're welcome to do that. However, it is a 2-page document as you see here.
Okay, so you have to finish page 1 and then you move on to page 2 and back and forth.
So page 1 is going to be open for you as a manager all year round. So you're going to be able to go in there and edit it at any time. Your employees will not be able to enter anything in after July 31st. So that's exactly how our current form is. The other areas of the form, such as the ongoing conversations section, is going to open up by quarter. So right now you see that it's not highlighted. It's kind of grayed out. It's going to stay that way until that quarter opens up, and then you'll see boxes open up. And
Okay,
then
right.
noteworthy achievements is going to stay open all year long. And then the overall performance evaluations is going to be visible, but it's going to be grayed out. So all the employees and you can see everything that's going to be required of you at the onset. It's all open, it's there. I mean, it's visible and there, but it will open up as you go through the fiscal year. Spell check. Oh, I know that was a but. There's another question in here about
That was
spell
my
check.
question, need a spell question. So
You know what? That's a great question for me to throw out to Chandra and see if that is a feasibility there. You know, one of the things is there were so many buttons to click on in the last form, and we were trying to make this as simple as possible. But currently, I'm not aware that there is a spell check on it. I can go in and check in just a moment. But I don't recall seeing it while we were testing. Yes, but that's a great comment and great feedback, right?
Yes.
It might be, so we'll check, because again, it's just the forms that they've developed. So again, we'll confirm that, but yeah, we agree.
Yeah. That's a good one.
It's a nicety, but it's a necessity because I get dinged if I have misspellings by people.
And there are words we like to use which may not be in the library, so.
And you know, the wonderful thing is this form is being designed in-house, so it's Chandra is just a Teams message away. And, you know, he's aware that we're going through these workshops and we're gonna, you know, collect all the feedback. And so after these workshops are over, we're just gonna continue to take it, and we appreciate as you use the form too, please send us your feedback.
Yes.
Because we want to make this form as user-friendly as possible, and we want it to be as helpful as possible. And whether or not we decide to stay with this form or go outside to look for a module, this is going to be the guide that we use to go out into the market. And this is what's going to create the scope of services that we're going to need, right? So, Mahendra, you have another question.
Yeah, what this question came up. Auto save feature. That's what I struggle. The old form you're doing.
Yeah.
You're filling out like 10 different, 15 different, I don't know how many tabs were there, but then you realize that you did not save and everything gets lost.
Chandra has put 2 save buttons on this document, on page 1 and on page 2. So unfortunately, this document is not connected to like the Microsoft Word where it will auto save for you, but you will have to go down and click save at the bottom. But we've done our best to, oh yes, the curse of the lost file, Neely, yes. But that's why we included the save button on both pages, so you're not scrolling too far to look for the save button, and so it's right there.
Yeah.
Good questions. Good questions. And Prem, thank you for that feedback. And I'm glad to just hear all of the questions and collecting the data. So then when Prem goes back to Chandra, to be able to have these questions on the table, as I mentioned, the forum is continually in evolution. All right, we're going to continue on. So how to access the new forum? It's in Employee Connect. And you see under the search menu, you go to Performance Plan and Evaluation. And then you see Performance Plan Employee, Performance Plan Manager. So this is the annual performance evaluation. And as I mentioned, it's required for all the AFSCME and non-reps. So it's even easier to find. So now let's get into breaking the form down. So we're going to focus on page 1. So page 1 has a part 1 and a part 2. We're also going to look at the ongoing conversations as well as the final evaluation submission. So at the top, you see the due date, July 31st, coming up. So performance measures are projects, tasks, and competencies that are assigned to employees for the entire performance appraisal period. Each employee or supervisor can initiate this section. So I mentioned before that on 7/1, the AFSCME and non-reps will receive an email that they will have access to the form. So your employees can initiate and start to fill out in the goals and objectives section. So you see we have on the left side, project tasks, a minimum of 3, but a maximum of 6. Target date for delivery. You may have a specific date in mind, or this may be ongoing. Here's what I want to let you know. I'm going to share with you a little later in the presentation examples, 2 examples of a populated performance plan measure. One will be task related, the other will be project related. So that way you can find and see and visually see how to populate the boxes, especially the goal and objective box on page 1. What you also want to note is you're going to be using the SMART goal technique. I'm going to go over that as well. And we're going to have the practical exercise in a little bit so that you can really see how efficient and effective, the new form is. You'll see helpful links. One of them is the Performance Management Guide. You see it here in blue. So the Performance Management Guide is coming out. That one's also coming out on the 1st, correct, Prem? So Performance Management Guide is out on 7/1 as well. And what this form, and we're so excited about this form because it's really a great reference guide. So some of your FAQs that you all are posing, some of the answers will be in that, and probably answers to questions that you just had not thought to ask. You also are going to see visuals, of examples, how you can populate this form. So that's going to be an important tool that you'll be able to click on right in the document and access immediately. The second part,
just to say, so the guide that we have is going to be less about how to do the process and more about the substance. So please do refer to it, because I know the experience from the last one was and I'll let Prim, how many pages that was.
But 29 pages.
Yeah.
29 pages, and it served as a user's guide versus a manager's tool to help you support you through the performance management process. So, feedback on the performance management guide as well. I can tweak it anytime and update it for wonderful things that you need to have me add in there. So yes.
Yes, I want to highlight that because people may not look at it because they're thinking, it's a tool to figure out how to use the form. Because of the simplicity of the form, it now focuses more on helpful tools and tips for you to go through the performance management process. So please note that's also the improvement through the process. So Dr. Venice.
So
Thank you.
I have a question and suggestion, and I'm going to say it very awkwardly because I'm not quite sure how to word it.
Okay.
It's okay.
There's a portion of my engineering staff that are never assigned projects and tasks because they're operational. They're a response. How would we add something to here so as the year goes along, I could highlight 3 significant events that they created, participated in, that they could substitute for the project and task that would be given out at the beginning of the year.
So I'm glad you asked that question because one, I do want to highlight that we are going to have after this workshop, immediately following it, we are going to have an exercise session where you're going to have the opportunity to practice writing out a goal and objective for yourself to complete your performance plan measure. And it's going to be regarding a responsibility that you have as a supervisor that is ongoing. And it doesn't necessarily have one due date, but it may have several milestone due dates along the way. And whether these are formal deliverables that need to be submitted, or these are milestones that you set as you're working with your engineers, for example, to check in on progress to make sure that the project or the ongoing responsibility or the task that they have is continual, and that there's check-ins that they're happening, or that there's improvements or issues that are arising are resolved. You can certainly set milestones, and therefore, when you get to the target date for delivery, you don't necessarily have to put a date in there. So all 3 of these sections, project task title, the target date for delivery, and the goals and objectives, freeform. So it's not a drop-down menu where you're forced into selecting something. This is really intended to be customized for you. So for an example here, on the goal that you will be practicing at the end of this class through the practical exercise, the target date for delivery will be ongoing. And what we're going to do is we're going to have you specify in the goals and objectives section some key milestone dates along the way. So this is how we've tried to design this form in such a way that it's customizable across the various levels of positions within AFSCME and non-rep, as well as the breadth of responsibilities that employees may have across classifications. I hope that helps.
It does. It gives me an idea how to do some of the staff. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to add to that, another project could be professional development. So there may be an opportunity to consider adding that, as one of the goals that you set.
That was what I was going to ask if the operational people and they obtain certification above the current level, that could be, an ongoing event.
Yes. Yeah. Good question. You guys have good questions, good feedback. All right. Any other questions or comments so far? All right. If they come up, please drop them in the chat and or interject in the conversation. So this is part 2 of page 1. So performance measure competencies. So the competencies are professional characteristics and behaviors, including knowledge, skills, abilities that are determined to lead to success and job performance. So when we look at the competencies that are before us, so you see the performance of job duties, employee conduct behavior, training, compliance. These are all fixed competencies. So this is fixed for everyone district-wide. You as the manager have an opportunity to choose 3 additional competencies to be able to populate for continued development. So this may go to just the comment I made about, setting goals for professional development. Also, at the end, we're going to explore the competency sections in a little bit more, but you do have the save feature at the bottom. You as a manager, you click that you've met with the employee and the date that you've met with them. Now, this concludes page 1, which is the page that's due for July 31st. You'll see the highlighted purple links, competency definitions, and job descriptions. We're going to get into that a little bit more. But I want to just go back so that you can just really see and take in that this is part 1 of page 1, and this is part 2 of page 1. So the only part that's done, you need to complete it by July 31st. You also want to send your quarterly review invites to your staff to make sure that you're staying on target. And we'll get to the quarterly review section in a moment. So back to the competency definitions and helpful links. So when you click on that purple highlight, it opens up for competency and definitions. It opens up the documentation around what the definitions are for the competencies. You see the top 3 fixed: performance of job duties, and then you see the subsequent topics there. But what you have is really clear definition of understanding what performance of job duties and responsibilities, really are connected to. And it gives some examples of what that could look like. The employee conduct and behavior. So some of the past questions have been, well, what about attendance? Where does attendance go? So that's going to go under the employee conduct and behavior fixed section. You also have additional links, helpful links, the Orange Book on Conduct. You've got the remote work policy, non-rep only, and the OCR site on state mandate training, prevention of sexual harassment, and abusive conduct. So you don't have to leave too far to go click someplace outside of the document. All the information is here for you. You also have under training compliance, the Path Learning Portal. So this is really helpful when you're looking at setting the goals and there may be specific workshops or training that you want to put in your goal plan for your employee. When you look back on the left side of the page and where you see the open menu, you have the additional list of areas of competencies that you can choose from. And as you choose from this list, then a definition can open up on the other side, on the right side, where you'll get deeper knowledge about what this competency really involves.
Denise, if I may add,
Sure.
As we've rolled out this new form and we are having these pilot workshops, and then we had pilot workshops and now we've rolled out with these workshops, we're continuing to have feedback, and at where we can, we're making updates to improve and make this form as comprehensive as possible. And what we've done here is, what you see here is a slide, and I'm going to need to update it for you, Venice, because we've made an update to one of the competency definitions.
Okay.
And that is employee conduct and behavior is now going to be conduct, behavior, and safe working practices. And so we're going to add to the definition there, and we're going to add links to the language in the Orange Book that is going to be there related to safe working practices, and also a link to Safety's website here. So we're doing as much as we can to provide you with the policies and procedures, the language that you need to help you to monitor performance that's related to employee conduct and behavior, training compliance, and all other things related to the job descriptions and duties and responsibilities for each of the employees. So please continue to submit feedback and comments. We want this form to be as useful to you and as comprehensive as possible.
And just to give you some other good news, I just checked into the employee, because you can go in there now. There is spell check and grammar check in the so
thank you, Diane. It's the little things.
You saved my life. Thank you. I don't know how much this
we
means.
feel your pain.
Thank you, Diane, for that. And Prem, too, thank you for the update as well. So you see how the feedback is working? So you all are giving feedback. Prim has already been on top of it. She's anticipated it. And Diane is checking, in the background for answering those questions. So thank you both. Yay, team. So let's continue on to step 2, ongoing conversations and quarterly check-ins. So the quarterly check-ins, of course, are quarterly. You see the dates on the left side of the form. But these check-ins should foster meaningful conversations between employee and managers that occur 3 times, per year to really discuss the established performance measures, work progress, and plans of action. Remember, I referenced earlier on in the slide, in previous slides, about performance management coaching. So the coaching is ongoing conversation. So the coaching, the quarterly check-ins is an extension of the coaching, but you're going to start the coaching from the very first time of your planning. So I just want to power back for a second. So your coaching is going to start here. This is the conversation, and the coaching may even start prior to you actually sitting down and to make it formal. That will lead to the formality, which is populating the boxes and the content. So you see where you have the meeting date. You also see employee comments where the employee has an opportunity to also to give feedback. You, the manager, put your comments there. Now you have an option to share with the employee, which means that they get to see all the information that you're putting there. And I really am encouraging you to have these conversations so you are on the same page. And what I like especially about this form is when you look up at the top of the form, you see the second paragraph, some things to consider as you comment below. What goals did you accomplish this period? In what ways have you improved your approach to achieve enhanced efficiencies and quality of work product? What have you done to make it better? What additional support, knowledge, resources, or tools are needed to successfully do your job? These are great prompting questions. These are also great questions that elicit specific information and feedback that will help you to, and also the employee, to really respond, to this form versus like, I don't know, you leaving it up to me to figure out what I should put, or you, the manager, like, my time is busy, my schedule is busy, now I got to think of questions. So these are great lead into questions that can help, again, elicit specific information from the employee and for you, manager, to focus your comments and your feedback. And I'll tell you, in the coaching world, this is pretty common. On my coach, when I meet with my coach, we have specific questions that we address. My check-ins with my coach are typically 30 minutes. And sometimes they're less than that, they're about 20 minutes, sometimes. But it always preps me for the call because I have my specific questions. At the bottom of the form, you have employee notes. This is one thing that Prem mentioned also. The noteworthy achievements section is open throughout the annual time. The employee gets to put notes there as well. So there may be something that is achievement or noteworthy. And remember, you're not always with your employees. So this is an opportunity to encourage them to really pay attention to the achievements that you have from the goals that we've set, because they may be noteworthy. They get to add that to the form, which then goes into their file. You also, the manager, have an opportunity to populate this. Maybe there's something specific that you see that definitely needs to be noteworthy and documented in that space. You've got 254 characters on both sides that you can populate and be really succinct with that information.
Oh, sorry, Denise, I just want to. Sure. The 254 limitation is only on the employee. It's not on the manager side.
Okay.
But so people know, the idea here is to allow the employee to, to contribute to the conversation. It is just a summary of what was there and the things that you want to, possibly highlight. It's not a journaling of everything I've done, and that's where I put it as a repository. So that's why we limited that, because we did want people to do that. It's the same thing. It's not your journal of everything that employee does. Again, we just felt that you might need more space to elaborate some of your feedback to the employee. And as we had mentioned before, all of this was kind of inspired to take out the kind of crazy levels of process so that we can get to the heart of it, which is having those conversations. And so, as you can see here, this particular page is pretty easy to read, which is also easy to define. Like, so when people are like, hey, someone hasn't been doing well, the employee got to feedback, you did too. We should be able to see if something wasn't going right. It's clear here that something wasn't going right. And then again, we're here for you as a resource if that's true. Same thing when people are trying to do the ratings that are above just effective. We should start to see, those noteworthy achievements at the bottom, because if you're saying this person is outstanding and we're not seeing those comments, we're going to be asking what's going on here, because there's one quick page to go to see how you're justifying your ratings at the end. So we made it a lot easier for you to see all your information, and again, gave you the space that's needed to have those conversations. So just wanted to kind of highlight that. And also one other thing is the dates are right there. So under each of those quarters, you can see a deliverable date. So again, through the form, we tried to put in the due dates so that you can go here and it's like, when was that due? Right there. So we tried to add those things throughout the form so that you wouldn't, again, we'll send you out some general reminders, but again, we also tried to embed that in the form as well. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Thank you, Diane, for that. So questions or comments so far? This is on page 2 of the form. And Prim mentioned earlier, we're going to have future workshops, on step 2 of the form, as well as step 3 that's coming up in a moment, to support you to really, be efficient with your content that you're putting in these boxes. So any questions or comments so far? Okay, so I got a big question. Is it still looking easier? So can we drop some thumbs up in the chat? Is it still looking easier? All right. Good deal. I see hand clapping from Diane. All right. So, and also too, again, helpful links. So we've taken the opportunity to really extract to the front, the helpful links area, so that additional information is here to support you. So you see where it says in the second half of the form, ongoing conversations, quarterly check-ins. If you want more information or help in this area, continuous feedback. The employee at any time during this cycle, they can reach out to the manager to discuss their performance, their career development, and or any assistance they might need. The on-demand learning library helpful link is there for the employee. Perhaps they've really want some additional support, and they want to be able to take it upon themselves. Because they're, as Diane mentioned, this is a way to help to, invite them in and make it more engaging for them. They may want to go onto the library and to find workshops or information to be able to come to you and say, here's what I've done so far. And then managers, make sure that your comments reflect performance and identify those opportunities for development improvement. So just really good, succinct, deep information. So part 3, the overall performance evaluation and rating. This is due on June 9th. So the previous content, the top half of that form, as well as the first page of the performance management performance plan measures, that all leads up to this culmination for June the 9th. So you see at the end of the fiscal year, both the employee and managers have an opportunity to summarize. And hopefully with the simplicity of the form, that it's easier to summarize if you're following the timelines with the information. I'm going to show you an example of how efficient you can be able to set this for the performance planning, that it all leads to you getting some time back in the evaluation process. The employee rating is there. And as Diane mentioned, there should be some evidence back in the noteworthy section to be able to go back and to support the rating, even that the employee is choosing for themselves. The employee gets to add comments in the box. You, the manager, get to select that rating. And then there's an opportunity to attach in a space to attach additional files. So maybe there's some documentation that the employee has submitted to you. Maybe there's some additional documentation that you want to make sure that it's included in the evaluation process. You get to attach the files and information and save it there. Then you get to share it with the employee at the end of the overall completion of the performance evaluations. So as you mentioned before, we went from 45 comment boxes. Now you only have 4. So questions and comments on this portion of the form. And while you're raising your hand or putting a comment in the chat, we are going to have a workshop on this to support you. So that would be part 3 of the performance management series, to support you with writing really effective performance evaluations.
Denise, I just want to chime in. So this is from the employee's perspective. So this is the employee self-rating. They're going to put their information in here with their comments. When you log in as the manager, you're going to have your section. You'll see the same listing. It just, like I said, the screenshot that we provided was from the employee perspective. So when you pop in, you will see the same ratings with a little notation there that if you're rating somebody is less than exceeds, to reach out to the workforce development team. And again, then you'll have your ability to put in your comments, and then you'll be able to share that. And just like your other comments, you share when you want to share. So you can draft what you want to and have it in there. It will not automatically display to the employee. There's a specific share button, and then once you do that, then the employee will see it. So again, you control your comments and when they see it.
Thank you for that, Diane. And so questions or comments?
I don't see any questions or comments just yet in the chat box. Robert did bring up earlier that there may be an impact to the 254 character limit. So we had to make a decision, Diane and I, and then we also, through the pilot, had discussions with those that were in the pilot, reviewing the forms. We had an all or nothing option here. It was either unlimited or cap it at 254. And we felt that after hearing from some feedback that we got, that keeping the unlimited characters in the goals and objectives section was critical, but trying to keep on point with comments that were going to be made. We were going to try out this pilot year with the 254 cap, and to just kind of keep us on point with the evaluations and the ongoing feedback, see if that would work. Of course, we would appreciate your feedback on how well this is working throughout the fiscal year. And if there's no comments, I want to throw out another poll question. And this is just to kind of see how much you guys have been paying attention along the way. And so I'm going to go ahead and launch it. So when are the FY23 performance measures? Page 1, when is that due? June 15th, July 1st, July 31st, or June 9th?
I feel like we need Jeopardy music.
So far I got 100% responses, yes. 12 responses at July 31st. I got a couple more of you still out there. Diane, you get to respond too. Okay. We're at 16 responses at 100%. No, someone answered June 9th. Is someone trying to trick us?
Are we paying attention?
The correct answer is July 31st. Page 1 is due on July 31st. And so that is going to be your performance measures. And that includes your projects and tasks section, along with selecting competencies. So you'll only have the goals and objectives section to complete and type in. The competencies section is a simple drop down. We've defined that already for you, and it's consistent across all employees, ASME and non-rep employees. So July 31st is when the FY23 performance measures are due.
Okay, thank you for that, Prem. I just want to check on a couple more folks to see if there are any questions. Mario, Leonardo, John, Harriet, any additional questions or comments so far?
No, I'm just I think you guys answered it already. One was the what we were saying, if you're rating an employee higher, that you can keep on those other notes on the bottom of that first page and keep record of it, so you have an explanation at the end of the year why you want to rate somebody higher, and that's helpful as well. Is there as well, since you guys have those comments as well, if an employee needs improvement on something that you need to track their improvement, can you you can go in. You don't need to do it at the end of the quarter where you're doing the evaluation. You can go in through the quarter and say, he's improving. Like somebody said about sick, somebody's using too much sick leave or something, attendance. You can go in and update it and says, we had a meeting about this, and this employee is improving and it's meeting the goal now. That's just my comment.
Yeah, yeah. So good, Mario. Great observation, on pointing that out. Absolutely. You have the option to go in and do the updates on that. Okay, so let's continue on. So hang in with me for a few minutes, everybody. We have a couple of slides that's just going to kind of recap what I just spoke about. Then we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to move on to part 2 of the workshop. So the performance measures, projects, and tasks. So I want to focus specifically on some of the check marks that are at the bottom of the screen. You get to identify up to 6 goals and objectives and communicate how performance will be measured. So that's an important component. We're going to break this down into the SMART method in the next couple of slides. Performance coaching starts by collaboratively establishing measures. So remember, performance coaching starts now. It's the conversation. Even when the announcement will go out tomorrow on 7/1, but being able to use that starting with performance coaching, as a way to say the forms are out, you get to set your goals. And let's talk about the goal methodology that really can help you to be succinct when you're submitting your goal, employee. And then also, supervisor, you finalize, the form. So keep that in mind. So let's look at SMART goals defined. So this is the methodology. You find this on page 1, also at the top of the form, that it is highly suggesting and recommending to use the SMART method. Specific goals, they need to be well defined and clear. So about what needs to be accomplished. You want to stay away from vague, goals. Complete this whenever you get a chance. That is not specific. Complete ABC, by this date, this time. So that's important to be specific. It needs to be measurable. So it enables you to evaluate whether or not the goal was achieved. Measurability can come through forms. Someone may use Excel to be able to capture information in terms of that goal being measured. Someone may use the completion of a class, where there is proof that the person took the class, and the class says completed. That could be a way to measure it, right? Accurate. Goals are directly related to an identified and agreed upon professional development area. So ensuring that you both, the employee sees the opportunity, you manager have acknowledged and highlighted the opportunity, and you both agree that this is what will be worked on. So that way there's nobody being a renegade here or no opportunity to be a renegade and go off and do your own thing just because I decided I wanted to change it and go off and do my own thing. Well, if we both agreed upon it, that is where the focus needs to be. You also want to look at the impact that will happen from the accuracy, of that specific goal. Is it going to allow the person to be more efficient on the team? Is it going to, create a new way of working on a particular project or task? So there's a way to really look at the impact when you are both agreeing on the accuracy. Relevancy, goals are important, relevant goals are important too, and will make material impact on achieving the larger objectives. So I like this part of relevancy because being relevant, because when you look at the district goals, the goal wide, for the district, right? Then you can dot line it back to, I mentioned this earlier, back to your department. You can dot line it back to the team. You can dot line it back to the employee so that they have an opportunity to see that this is a larger objective. Setting this goal with them doesn't mean that this is what I personally want you to do, but setting the goal means that there is a larger objective here so that they can be able to engage in that goal in a different way and knowing that it's not just about them, but it's about everybody that's involved. And then time bound goals lock goals with specific time frame and specify when they will be completed by. Need to have a quantitative here. Could be a time frame, what that looks like. Could be a date, that it looks like. But time bound creates a sense of urgency. And it also gives your employee an opportunity to go back and look at the actual goals and objective list so they can be able to see, okay, this is what we outlined here. We agreed upon the accuracy of it, and these are the things that need to get done. They now can use that to be able to plan out their time on their calendar with the work they have if they are really clear about when the time of the goal, the completion of the goal is required. So make sure you're using the SMART goal methodology in setting the goals.
Denise,
I'm
sorry, go ahead, Fran.
There's a question in the chat from Harriet. Thank you, Harriet, for bringing up your question. And the comment is, I typically think of the A in SMART goals as being achievable. You do say that at the end of the definition. Can we use the term achievable with our employees? So thank you for bringing this up. And I'm excited to hear that you've used SMART goals. And so you're familiar with this. SMART goals have been discussed with respect to performance management for many, many years now. And it's for those of us who teach about performance management, we've learned about the SMART technique and we've shared it with employees in the past. We out there in the industry, both the word accurate is used and achievable is used. And when we thought about our district and the performance management process here at the district and the cultural shift that we are wanting to go through with having those conversations with our employees and designing our goals and objectives tied to employees, we felt that accurate was a more comprehensive word that really took the individual employee in mind. And when we're thinking of goals and objectives, we're thinking about, is this goal accurate for this employee based on their skills and abilities and tied to their job description within their scope of the work that they're supposed to be doing? And also, is it achievable? And is it something that we are going to be focusing on as accurate for this employee? So as we were debating which of the words we chose accurate. And so I do appreciate your suggestion. There's not a right or wrong here. I feel it depends on how we're wanting to communicate and frame the conversation that's going on about this goal. And when we get to the discussing a little bit more at rating, the rating scale, I will talk about this a little bit more, but this is also tied to rating employees individually rather than in comparative to other employees as well. So I hope this answers your question, Harriet. And our goal was to make sure that accurate kind of encompassed achievable as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, Diane, did you have a question or comment?
No, also I was thinking of it is it's kind of the blend of the two. We use the word accurate, but it's really, we value both. It's so, but it's 1A. So it's accurate and achievable, right?
Yeah,
so it really is a combination of the two. We lean toward the accurate half, but I think it really is in concept and just so that people are, you're not going to write one statement that's an S, one statement that's an M, right? So all of the goals and objectives that you will have incorporate these components as a whole. So again, it's not like you will have one specific statement that answers each of these things. Your whole collective goal and objective should incorporate all of these things, but it's not like you have to write a specific one sentence is an S, one sentence is an M. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that, Diane. And I'll add on to that also is that the achievable component also can be supported through the measurable, because you're breaking it down, for the individual or ways that it can actually be achieved with different tools and resources. So thank you for saying that, Diane, about how they all encompass together. So here's an example. So then this slide and the one coming up. So this is a task-based SMART goal example. So when you look at this on the left side, you got your project or task, educational assistance program. The target date for delivery is ongoing. So you may have employees that don't have a specific date of something to do, and that could be an operational area, for ongoing. So then you see that you have a main goal, provides administrative support for the educational assistance program, and then it lists, specific goals under the main header of the specific tasks to support achieving this goal. Processing requests according to EDAP guidelines within 24 to 72 hours. That's a measurable component. In Excel, maintain tracking log for each EDAP request. That's another area, of measurement, right? Provide the quarterly reports. That could be used in the area of it being accurate or being relevant. So you see the bullet points that are listed here that you would populate in this particular area. These are also bullet points that will lead to framing the discussion that you'll have for quarterly review. So this is an example for the task-based SMART goal. And then I'll go over to the project base, and we can toggle back and forth when we get to the point of discussion or if there's anyone that has a question. So project base, so project delivery and performance, phase 2. Some of your team members, your employees, they may be working on projects based on phases. And that would be a really great opportunity for you to flush out those phases and the goals and objectives per phase. So you have 3 main headers: meet, measure, our spending goals for fiscal year 23, complete the capital project ensuring technical quality by 6:30 or ahead of schedule. And the last is provide quarterly budget and progress updates at joint managers meetings. So this is an opportunity that within a project, take the top important areas, of that project, and then you can list out specific objectives, for those areas. There's quantitatives, measurables, there's accuracy, there's also relevancy, there's time bound. So all of this encompass the SMART methodology so that you can be able to then see and measure and drive the conversations. It's also a visual guide for the employee to drive how they are responding to the SMART goals as well. So questions or comments on the project-based SMART goal example or the task-based? So here's what I want you all to think about as we move into the exercise part. We're going to take a quick break before we do the exercise, but this is really a great visual guideline. So when you get ready to do the exercise, for you to write out your goal to be able to execute, the performance measurement plan to meet July, that's required on July 31st, this could be a really great visual for how you see yourself setting the goal and executing your goal to ensure that all your employees, will have, tasks could be to send out calendar invites, with all employees to go over with them the requirement for their SMART goal. Could be to schedule, the actual meeting to confirm, to review the goals that they set and for you to have a collaborative meeting with them about your goals. So you can use these examples to support you in doing the exercise as you look at how you would set your goals to execute for meeting the deadline for the planned performances. So questions or comments? Okay, good deal. So 2 more slides and we'll take a break, everyone. Again, an overview of competencies. The checks at the bottom of the slide, they've all been standardized. It's 3 fixed competencies for all employees. You can choose up to 3 additional competencies. The examples that are just shared on the previous slides are ways that you can add those and fold those competencies into the goals and objectives. Either the employee or supervisor can initiate this section, and you, the supervisor, get to finalize it. The ongoing conversations and check-ins. This is where the meaningful conversations are going to happen. Now, you can do this in documentation, but I'm encouraging you to include the performance management coaching along the process, of that. The employee may just need a quick second, 10 minutes to ask you a question or to ask about a resource, or you may want to just do a check-in with them. That's an unofficial check-in. How are things going? Is there anything I can help you with? So, or just to say, great job, keep up the good work. that you're excited and looking forward to the quarterly check-in. So you're discussing their progress. You've identified opportunities for development or improvement, and you're also acknowledging that the great work that they're doing. So the employee, remember, these are really great questions, prompting questions to focus that, the meeting time around so that it can be more efficient and your employee can be well prepared. You also, the supervisor, get to have a courageous conversation. So, there are times when you're going to need to have those difficult, courageous conversations, opportunity for clarity, for checking in. It's a great way for recognizing the achievements and awards. And also training workshops will be happening to support you. So ongoing conversations, that's series 2, to support you in making sure that we are giving you resources to have those efficient check-in conversations. And then the overall evaluation and ratings. So both you and the employee have an opportunity to summarize. So the employee does the self-evaluation rating. So as Diane pointed out, the view that we were looking at was the employee view. So you get a chance to really see what they're seeing when it comes to relating, evaluating themselves. And then you, the supervisor, there's ongoing training workshops, overall evaluation, and rating. So this encompasses the entire fiscal year. So everybody's on the same page. It should not be a surprise. So I want to stop now and just pick a few questions, and then we're going to get into the break. So any questions or comments, drop them in the chat. And let me know, Pram and Diane, if you see any questions.
I don't see any questions just yet and no hands raised, but I can actually throw in our final poll question.
Yay!
I am a poll roll today. I learned a fun new thing, and so I'm just having fun.
This was the first time we've used the poll.
So the question, I'm going to go ahead and launch it now. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, please post it in the chat or raise your hand and I'll reach out to you. But the poll question is, how confident do you feel about completing the performance measures due on July 31st? How confident do you feel? See how people are answering. We got extremely confident, 47%.
It went up to 50. Went up to 50.
Right. 50%. Okay.
Okay.
So here's the thing. We're at 53% and we still have the practical exercise left.
Yeah.
And we also have the section left with open-ended questions. So we still have a little bit more to go. I am so happy to see that we got 77% of our group feeling either somewhat confident or extremely confident. I love it. And those of you that are neutral, we're going to get to you just yet. We want to make sure, maybe I should throw out the poll after the exercise again and see how we do.
We can do that afterwards. Yeah, we can do that afterwards.
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks everyone for participating in that. So your eco support system, you see in front of you the pie. We are the workforce development team, and this is part of initiating the support is having this workshop. You've got labor relations for your ASME, your talent acquisition for your NR, your EAP for managers, and then there are training and workshops. So Prim mentioned we're going to be doing series 1, which is where we are now, and 2 and 3 to continue the support going. You also have peer-to-peer support and immediate supervisor. These are your support system, boots on the ground where you are. They know firsthand the work that's happening, in your environment. So they could definitely be your first point of contact for support, to get those questions answered, role play, feedback. So make sure that you are engaging your support system to move forward with the success, of using this new performance evaluation form and executing it. Immediate steps, the forms are available now. They came available on 6/20. The workshops are happening now until the last week of July. The announcements going out on 7/1, and the performance measures are due. You all passed this in Prim's poll with flying colors. So Prim, we got this one. So if you have any questions, you can contact Prim or Diane for additional questions or comments. And after the exercise, we are staying here for open discussion. So you can continue to bring additional questions that you may have about anything that we've presented, and questions that we may just don't have on our list yet. So we're open for the discussion on that.
And just a quick tip, there's no need to wait to put the meeting schedules on your employee's calendar or on your calendar. So you have all of the dates. Schedule those meetings or put out reminders. And, if you're more comfortable about getting, kind of some reminder for yourself about to set that meeting or set that meeting, do that now. You've got all the dates that deliverables are due. So instead of like forgetting about it, again, we will give you those reminders, but it's a reminder. So you remember first, and then we will remind you. So we'll all set each other up for success, and that's a positive. And again, on that eco support, I really do encourage you to kind of talk to your colleagues. When you guys collaborate together, it makes a better product. Again, when we were doing the examples, Prim and I worked together on the responses. And again, sometimes it's a little too much and sometimes it's too little. Again, you find that right place where you need to be, and you really sometimes come up with some great ideas when you collaborate together. Sometimes you guys will have the same one. You all just, why keep reinventing the wheel? Share that, copy it, and, put it up. So again, I really do encourage you to kind of use each other as resources, as well as all the other ones that we will be providing through the whole year.
Thank you for that, Diane. So everyone, let's take a quick 5-minute break. It is 11:33. So get up, stretch, refresh your coffee, get some water, back away from the screen.
But before you go, Denise is going to be plugging in the poll, the evaluation form into the chat. And so please take a few moments during this break to complete the evaluation form. That is your proof of completion. And then also as part of the evaluation, we really are looking for your feedback. Any comment and feedback. As you can see, we're making live changes. The typo is corrected live while we're going through the class, and I'm updating slides for the next session. So any feedback that you give us is going to impact the rest of the sessions that we have, as well as even the form as we're working on it live. So thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Prim. So everyone, it's 11:34, so actually 11:35. So let's be back in 5 minutes, everyone. When you come back, we are going to do a short exercise. It's going to be easy breezy for you all because of everything that we've been through. And I'm also going to put the examples back up on the screen so that you can use those as guides. And we'll do the exercise. And then after that, I'll have some shares, of someone who wants to share their goal that they've written out. And then we'll have open discussion. So I'll see everyone back in 5 minutes.
Thanks, everybody.
Diane and I'll be here during the 5-minute break. So if there's any questions, I can answer some.
Likewise.
It was so cool. Chandra just went in. I sent him a Teams message, and he just updated and corrected it. And
that must have happened because we went to do those updates, because it was fine before.
Yes.
So we were good, but we go in and make improvements and some little. So again, easy to fix. Glad to hear it.
Yes. I think I should just go ahead and.
Do you want to pause the recording?
I'm going to try to see if I can pause it. So
okay.
Let me just see. Otherwise, those that are watching video are going to. No, there's not an ability to pause. So. not an ability to pause. So those of you who are going to be watching this video, this is the time to take a quick 5-minute
Right,
break.
it's a good reminder.
Dean has said that he's receiving an error as he's opening up the survey. So let me just go ahead and try it. Dean, I'm clicking here and I'm able to get into the survey. You can just check and see if there's any cookies there that may need to be cleared. I'm also using Chrome to access the SurveyMonkey.
Let me also try it through the link and see if I'm having any issue. Let's see.
Diane, I've also updated the slides to reflect the new competency. So I'm going to go ahead and share that with Robert so that all the subsequent workshops will have the new slides.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes.
And I was able to use the survey link. So hopefully, Dean, you'll let us know if you were able to be successful. If not, again, we'll keep working on that.
So it looks like SurveyMonkey is not supporting Internet Explorer. So do you have another browser like Chrome that you can use, or Firefox? See if we can try that.
Good to know that not all the options will be there.
All right, everyone, we should be coming back.
If anyone is having issues with the SurveyMonkey, we understand that Internet Explorer is not supporting the survey, so you'll have to log in from Google Chrome or Firefox or some other browser.
Thank you, Prim.
And if you took off on your break, and you didn't complete the survey, please take a quick second. It should take you no more than 2 minutes to finish it. So some quick questions, and those of you with speedy fingers there can get it done even faster
than So welcome back, everyone. So we're going to continue on because I want to keep all of you on time. And the next part that we're going to do now is the class exercise. So just to review in the SMART goals, they need to be specific. They need to be measurable. Also, it should be accurate that both you and the employee have identified and agreed upon this professional development area. They need to be relevant. The goal needs to be relevant and connected to larger objectives. And it has to be time bound. Need to definitely have an end date that the goal needs to be completed by. So now you get an opportunity to write your own SMART goal. We've already set the prompters for you here. So the title of your goal is going to be Staff Performance Management. The target date, delivery date is ongoing because this is an ongoing process that you have. So you get to write out your goals and objectives. Things to keep in mind. Performance measures are due by 7/31. So you may have a task or tasks that lead up to meeting this deadline. Quarterly reviews due by these specific dates. That may be another component of your SMART goal. It has the timelines on it that you could write, maybe tasks around, what needs to happen to meet those deadlines. And then the final evaluation that's due, which is on 6/9/23 for next year. So use the SMART goal technique to help you to write out your own SMART goal. What I'm going to do is to power back through the slides, and I'm going to go back to those examples that I had up on the screen earlier. So this is a project-based SMART goal example. And, for the intents and purposes of the workshop, you don't have to write it and flesh it out in its entirety, but I just wanted to give you the visual. So this is an example, the project-based, so if you want to make this a project because it is ongoing, and this one has phases broken out in phases. This could be phase 1 for you. This is also the task-based SMART goal example. This is ongoing. So you might decide to put a main goal objective, and then there may be some breakout tasks that need to happen in order for you to really make this goal and objective achievable. So you can use either example. So take a few minutes and just, write it out. And then I'd like to hear from someone. I'm going to give you a couple minutes because you don't have to be as detailed, in writing it out. This is for exercise purposes.
And reminder, this is a safe space. These are your colleagues that you're working with. So this is, again, just our ability to work with each other to, improve, how we do this. So think of it from that standpoint too. Again, it's this learning opportunity that we have to be able to, work on an exact example, because you guys are either going to be receiving this or and developing as the employee or as the person who is actually going to need to do this task. So think about it from that perspective. You're already ahead of the game.
Yeah. Thank you, Diane. Give you another couple minutes. Then I'm going to ask someone to share. Start winding down with your response. Finish out your sentence, please. And as you prepare and wrap this back up, I want to share with you the example that we came up with. So actually, Prem and Diane came up with this because it was a collaborative effort. So you see the title, Staff Performance Management. Due date is ongoing. Completion of performance management process for all eligible employees to establish expectations and manage performance and training for fiscal year 23, including the following. So you see where they broke them down into actual categories, and then they put specifics under those categories. Don't let Diane and Prim don't let them intimidate you. We did this we had a jump start on this. But wanted to just show you from a collaborative standpoint, what this could look like, and how you could possibly use this as inspiration to support you with the staff management performance goal of getting this form, getting this information out there. So I'm going to go to and choose someone to share, or you can volunteer. So who would like to share, what they put on their performance goal for this process? And I have your name, so if you don't raise your hand, I'm going to have to choose someone. So anyone would like to share? Somebody we haven't heard from yet? So Nee, what about you? Would you like to share? Okay, Tara.
I'll do it. I have simple ones. I'll give you mine.
Jeffrey, I saw that big cup of coffee that you have. You got all power in that cup of coffee. So Jeffrey, if you would please share with us.
One of my SMART goals is to hire permanent division managers for all my divisions.
Okay.
Work on mentoring them in staff administration, time and budget management, and conflict resolution. That'll keep me busy for a year with all the divisions.
Okay, that's really great, Jeff. So read the first one for me, because I think there's an opportunity to bring the SMART technique method in a little bit more.
The opening one, hired permanent division managers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So by what day do you want to hire that person? Ideally.
Ideally, tomorrow.
Since we're already at tomorrow, that's not
okay,
gonna work.
She meant realistically.
Yeah.
That's more accurate.
Yes, accurate and achievable. Right?
Yeah.
I would like at least two of them in place by second quarter of 2023.
Okay.
And then the remaining ones could be before the new budget cycle of 2024. But it's key that I get them all in place in 2023.
Okay, good. Okay, great. That's specific. And then under that, you shared some tasks under that. What were those tasks?
I'm gonna mentor them in staff administration. That's that pesky stuff like the timesheets and all that, and all the personnel stuff. And then time and budget management. I need to make sure that they understand how to manage their time and be able to do a fiscal budget accordingly.
Okay.
And the last one is conflict resolution, because we're basically at this level principals at a high school. So.
Okay. Okay. So those are really great headers. There's an opportunity under each one to flesh out some tasks, under each one. So you're definitely on the right track, Jeffrey, with that. And this is a great example, because I think a lot of times as leaders, we'll write down those high level, the high level goals, and then we miss the opportunity to plug in the steps, because it may involve other people, to continue that process going.
Yeah, that's currently our issue, is if I have to only rely on myself, it's achievable.
Yeah.
If I have to bring in something else, it goes south really fast.
Yeah.
Can I just make a suggestion as well? So again, you kind of have to define two things. One, that you're getting ready for the recruitment process and the selection. And then the second one is when you're kind of onboarding them and orientating them to the environment. You kind of make those two separate things. And then when it comes to, because there's some things that are in your area of responsibility and you can make happen, and some things that, again, if you're already approved, then that that's something that you can achieve, right? Because you've already been your recruitment rec has been approved, and you're just you've got a queue, right? But if you haven't even been there, I don't know that you can set it that way. But what you can do is the preparation is, so you can set out, that you reviewed the job description, that you reviewed your your current assignment, that you have what your objectives for that employee would be, what your measurables are going to be in the selection process, that you've already developed some questions. So those are things within your control that you can do as the hiring manager to prepare. Like I said, actually getting in the queue, is a process, but you can start setting goals if your rec has already been approved. So those are some things to think about. And then same thing, once you bring them aboard within a certain time frame, you're going to do this, you're going to, show them this, you're going to meet and introduce them, give them their goals. So you can set out some other timelines to be achievable once they've actually been selected and they're actually onboarded. And then again, the secondary part could be, if those aren't happening, what your plan of action is going to be to achieve all the things that you need. So those are different opportunities to kind of write goals and objectives when things aren't necessarily set in stone. So.
And then just a quick little add there. As we go through the fiscal year, we're going to be supporting you through these workshops and performance coaching, and we're going to talk about potential scenarios that you may face, such as difficult conversations that you may have to have with your employees, and then also how to strategically set some of the goals. As a manager and supervisor, you'll have the opportunity to change those goals throughout the fiscal year, and things may come up, and you may have to shift, or you may have a different priority. And so as a manager and supervisor, you can have that a change happen in the goals and objectives as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Jeffrey, was that helpful?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I can break this down into a lot more tasks that are specific and that are less dependent on other things.
Yeah, and there's also an opportunity to engage the employee or extract out of some of your tasks goals for the employee. So I want you to keep that in mind also, because there's the learning curve that they need to go through. There's workshops or training. So you can extract some of those components, and when you flesh them out, that's where you see the opportunity, for collaboration in there. Okay, good deal.
Yeah. I would like to do just a little plug on the training, because that's something that, people kind of put out there, is that I want you to go to training, and that's kind of it. I would like people to think about that more broadly, because it's important that, again, you set up your expectations of why that training is important. You then have them go to that training, that you then follow up that training with some kind of validation of, hey, what did you learn? And then again, you look at, because hopefully if you're sending them to the training, they're immediately going to be able to implement what they've done. Because like I said, sometimes when you don't have that ability to utilize what the training is, then unfortunately it gets lost, right? And you're not able to remember what the task is that you learned. So again, then immediately within some window of time, you're following up to make sure that all of those things are checking, and then giving them the feedback to make sure that they learn from the training. So I think that just solely going to training is a positive, but it's part of a continuum. So think of it as there's a beginning, there's a middle, and then there's an end. So setting up the expectation of what you need, having them go, and then the follow-up to make sure that whatever you needed gets achieved. So
cool. I think we should hear from me, my peer. See what she's got.
All right. Hey.
Me, and she just
I think Jeff did a great job. Congratulations, Jeffrey. You are more than welcome to do all of my performance evaluation for me. I don't want to take the spotlight from you.
So what I like to do now, thanks Nee for chiming in and lifting us up a little bit with laughter. So what I like to do now is to open it up for discussion. We have a few more minutes, but for those of you, if you need to leave exactly, at 12, you're welcome to do that. For those of you that have time and would like to stay past 12, we are here to answer additional questions and to continue the discussion.
And
So-
you're always welcome to come back to future workshops. Sometimes, again, you may want to just join toward the end. But again, we're going to have some in-persons and things like that. So you're welcome to join and participate, and then even to join at the back end, because it's open discussion means just that. We're here to help and assist you.
And in the back end, if you want to practice more. So if you like, I really want to spend some time and come back, the last half to practice and to continue the discussion is what Diane is talking about. So you can come to practice. Thanks, Richard. So let's open it up for a discussion, which includes someone else, if anyone else would like to share their SMART goal that they did as an exercise. We're open to hear that as well. And as Diane mentioned, this is a safe space. You're here with your peers, to practice. We're here to support you. So if anyone else would like to, I can call names too.
So how about some feedback, about how you're feeling about the new form? Any first impressions?
So, Prem, this is Leo. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, the only thing that I will probably, I'm looking here at the selections, the options that you have, training, compliance, customer service, ownership, all that stuff. I think one of the things that's probably missing from here is safety. And I know that was part of before. And I don't see that here. And I think that is probably a good thing to have because, a lot of us, we need to do a lot of safety checks and compliance checks and evacuation drills and so forth.
Thank you for bringing that up, Leo. I did make an announcement when we were going over the competencies and chimed in that we've made an update to the form. And the competency that's listed currently as employee conduct and behavior is now being changed to, or has already been changed. So if you go into the form now, it's live online, you can actually see it. It's now conduct, behavior, and safe practices. And we are including safety as a language and expanding on the current safety language to expand it further. So it's listed in 2 different areas now. We originally had it included only in the training and compliance area, but now we're including safety both in training and compliance as well as conduct, behavior, and safe practices. So when you go in, you'll see that update. Thank you for asking about that and for bringing it up.
And Prem, Ananda has a comment or question.
Ananda says the old tool was designed to allow the manager or the employee to take the first turn at drafting the goals. Is that still true in the new process? Yes. We kept, what is Diane, your line? We kept the best and got rid of the rest.
Yeah.
So we kept that feature because that really is the core of the philosophy behind and the goals of this performance management form. And the process is that there's ongoing discussion and communication with the employees. So the first 30 days, that section for performance measures, including the goals and objectives section for projects and tasks, as well as performance competencies, will be open for both employees and managers to populate. So that means that if you're a manager that has 15 reports, you can have one conversation on Teams with all your employees and talk to them about the general goals and objectives for your division. Have them go on and charge ahead with starting to complete their goals and objectives, and have a conversation with them as a follow-up to review and refine the goals and objectives for each individual employee separately. So employees, yes, they do have the opportunity to enter in goals and objectives for the first 31 days. And then after that, the manager will be able to update and change along the way as needed.
So whoever would you like to go first can go first.
So Mimi, would you like to share your example from the exercise? Mimi or Tara? Mahindra. Oh, Mimi, thanks. You open up your mic.
No, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for saying, for letting me know. What about Tara or Mahindra?
Oh, come on, guys. I did it. It's not that hard.
Thanks, Jeff. Or Jeff, maybe they just need a big cup of coffee like you have. They need that. So additional questions or comments. This is the open discussion part of the workshop. So even if you're not comfortable with sharing your exercise, are there any additional questions or comments that you may have? Tim, you're on mute.
I don't see any questions or I don't see
Okay.
any hands up. So it looks like this is a wrap.
Yeah.
And I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us today. Please don't forget to fill out your evaluation form. That is a proof of attendance. But more importantly for us, it's really our opportunity to have some individual feedback from each and every one of you. I've been taking diligent notes. I've updated the form where I can, and making notes about when we go through this pilot year. So please complete the evaluation form, and then we look forward to seeing your completed performance measures that are due on July 31st. And then we look forward to seeing you back again when we have the next workshops, which is part 2, performance coaching. So thank you all and have a great day.
Have a great day, everyone.
Appreciate you
Thank you all.
guys.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. So thank you for those of you who will be joining us online and watching this video.